All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger, and with me is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today we're taking a green turn, if you will, on this festivus of festivy holidays, some greener than the other. And we've decided to review a movie with two very prominent actors who will be celebrating the day. And that film is In Bruges.
In Bruges, we are celebrating St. Patrick's Day here at the I Can Do This All Day podcast. And yeah, one of the well-known secrets or some type of secrets about Ireland and Irish actors and Belgium with a British director
Yeah, though we are doing this as a St. Patrick's Day movie and podcast, it in no way takes place in Ireland.
Absolutely not. But that's okay when you got two studs of Irish actors with this type of caliber of acting and humor. We can do whatever we want here at this podcast,
Yes, we can.
and we will. But hey, have you ever seen this movie before reviewing it?
I never heard of this movie until you brought it up. I did not want to review either one of those boondocky movies because they're garbage. And you recommended this, and I was like, well, I mean, how bad could it be? I like Colin Farrell. He's all right. He's an okay dude. It seems like it was a bit of a Harry Potter reunion, and I was like, well, that's weird, but okay. These guys hung out a lot. But yeah, no, I did never heard of it. Had never heard of it. Not did never heard of it. And we watched it like 15 years after its release. So yeah.
I have seen this probably close to 8 years ago. And it was brought to my attention by my wife, who's Irish. And she said, oh, we should totally watch this. And I'd never heard of it. After we watched it, I started hearing people say, like, oh, yeah, In Bruges, that's a great movie. I was like, what the fuck? I've never heard about this movie ever until I mentioned that I watched it, which was already 2 years after the fact. So very strange on how this was, brought up and stayed with me. But it has been a long time since I've seen it. I rewatched it for the podcast. I remember it very differently. Very, very differently.
Really?
Yeah. It's almost like I pulled a Mark and I thought I saw it, but apparently I just didn't remember what I actually watched.
I feel like this movie is very hard to deviate from. It's pretty straightforward. It's straightforward, right? Like a train.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The plot goes in a line. It's a straight line, with a few little ziggy zags, but like predictable ones. Like I can guess what you're gonna do next.
So did you like Google the cast and the synopsis?
No, I knew that Colin Farrell and
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson were in it, and I was like, okay, they're in that new Irish movie that might be up for an Oscar. It would be cool to watch this and then watch that, maybe. So I was just in, and I got the concession of not having to watch the Boondock Aints, so I was very happy with that.
For the record, the Boondock Saints, at least the first one, was a college staple for me. Just a fun watch. But let's just dive right into the movie. Initial voiceover with Colin Farrell and just that first scene with Brendan Gleeson, that little narrative, and then the first back and forth. What are you thinking so far? And what are your thoughts about them shitting on Bruges, which, by the way, is in Belgium?
It is in Belgium, in case you were wondering. I was just taking it in. I was like, okay, whatever. There's got to be a reason. Something's got to happen, or else it wouldn't be called In Bruges. And it's good that they're getting to Bruges now, so I don't have to watch a train ride.
So right off the bat, I do not even recall this first little monologue by Colin Farrell. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, am I that old that I forgot what a movie's about after I've watched it one time? I used to be pretty good at that stuff, and I think I still am, but apparently for this movie, not so much. just, I make fun of you at some points where it's like, did you watch the movie? Did you really? And now here I am. Hypocrisy is strong because I'm falling victim to it.
Sometimes you forget things, and that's okay.
Okay. I'll take that as a plus then. I won't take it as a loss. What about, they shit on Bruges. I don't know anything about Bruges, and I know very little about Belgium other than the fact that I think Jean-Claude Van Damme was born there. I think.
I would agree. Yes.
But what do you think is like the US equivalent to Bruges? Like an old town that is just, it has the scenery, but people just shit on it. What do you think that town would be?
I don't know. A lot of old towns in the US are romanticized in a big way. Like,
you wouldn't think like Philadelphia or something like that.
People romanticize Philadelphia.
Do they?
They want to go see the Liberty Bell. I don't know. Maybe I've watched National Treasure too many times.
I don't know of anyone who says I want to visit the Liberty Bell. The Rocky Steps, sure.
I mean,
but
there was a story all about how somebody's life got turned upside down.
Yeah, but that was in Bel Air. He went to Bel Air.
No, his life got turned upside down in Philly.
Right.
And then he went to Bel Air. I'm just saying, like, Philly is not one that sticks out to me. I was thinking more like Detroit.
I don't think anyone ever says Detroit looks beautiful. Like, that's a beautiful city.
But nobody ever says that about Philadelphia either.
No. Oh, yeah, they do. Absolutely, they do.
Who's they? Are they from Philly?
You just flat out said, like, oh, want to go see the Liberty Bell?
No, they want to see historical things.
Yeah.
There's no historical things in Detroit.
That's my point. Never mind. Let's go on to the,
agree to disagree.
The next thing.
I'm going to go with Detroit on that one.
I think Bruges and Detroit are definitely not on the same wavelength of that. But
no, nothing's ever a fairy tale.
Right.
Let's back up because I think I missed.
I think you did.
What did I miss?
Like Bruges is like the city of like the old city that has like the architecture and history.
Your question was the question you asked was, are there any old cities that you just consider to be shitholes? I don't consider
like
Philly
Bruges, like Bruges, meaning people.
But I don't consider Bruges to be a shithole. One person considered Bruges to be a shithole, and that was in the context of somebody who is a non-appreciator of anything. I'm not that guy. I'm the other guy.
Either way, like, so at this point in the movie, do you have any guess as to what might have happened and why they're even there? Because they're like, Colin Farrell obviously is putting up a big stink about it. They're there for 2 weeks. What the fuck did they do? And is that even crossing your mind?
The last movie you picked was a robbery, right? It was like a heist. So like maybe they did a heist. Maybe they're part of a crew. They turned out to be assassins. But either way, like, it was some criminal situations.
Question for you. Is an assassin the same as a hitman?
Yes.
It is. Okay, why?
Yes. Because they both are paid to kill people.
I think assassin is like, here's assassin and hitman's down here. Like hitman is like any schlub could be a hitman. And then assassin is like the trusted, like he'll go and do whatever. He or she will go and do whatever and clean up whatever to kill people. And it looks clean.
So you're saying that assassin is a level in Hitman? You're promoted to assassin?
I would think that just the word assassin sounds more fancy and probably is entitled to the higher rank of killing.
I would think that just the crowd needs to be more elevated. The group of people conversing need to be more elevated to use a word like assassin as opposed to a word like hitman. Assassin just has some flair to it. And if you've got a bunch of like, people who grew up on the street, high school dropouts, they may not have that level of word in the hopper there.
So if someone flat out asked you, "Hey, do you want an assassin for this job?" Or if someone said, "Do you want a hitman for this job?" You wouldn't think like, I'll take the assassin because I feel like that guy knows more than what he,
I would
the
ask
hitman.
them, why they used a thesaurus to ask a question. The term assassin may give you like ninja vibes, right? Like maybe
Sure.
it's a ninja, in which case I'd pick the ninja hands down. Who has access to ninjas? I mean, not many people. Hitman needs guns. Ninjas, they need training.
So it does sound cool. I'm just thinking this in my head. Assassin
I,
sounds cooler, right?
it's a word. It is a word with many S's.
But does it sound cooler?
It's if I believe it depends on a person to person contextual approach to if it sounds cooler. I think that you're looking at like if you played the video game or watched the movie Hitman, that guy was a badass assassin, right? But if you I don't know, it depends on how you take it.
I take it that assassin sounds cooler. And I was asking your opinion if it sounded cooler than Hitman.
I was just saying it's elevated language.
Oh my gosh. We're off to a good start. We're off to a good
I
start.
love how tangential we're getting.
All right. So, what are you thinking about the dialogue so far, back and forth between everything? I know you're a big fan of the writing for movies. What are you thinking about this back and forth and the writing for this?
The dialogue is very punchy. It's very like late 90s punchy from a dialogue perspective, which I appreciate. Some Kevin and Quentin type dialogue. And yeah, I like it. I liked it. It was definitely not scared to offend,
Right?
which I'm okay with. I don't need a bubble wrapped film. So yeah, I think it was interesting. Um, when they started just uh, when you're opening up on a midget and you're just like, midgets kill themselves. I'm just like, wow, that's like, what were you watching on TV that told you that? Like the one time that guy watched the news, that's what they were covering.
We do find out during the message from Harry, because they kind of go back and forth, that Ray, Colin Farrell's character, killed a boy, not just a man, but also a boy, and that's the reason why they're in Bruges. Are you shocked by this at all? Do you feel bad for Ray? Do you feel that he's remorseful because now you kind of understand why he like broke down a little bit earlier?
Oh, I completely understand the remorse. And I think that the more the movie goes on, you get so much more about this character. So much more about the fact that it was his first assignment, right? Which explains why he was such a like he didn't know where to shoot the priest.
Yeah.
Right. He just thought that, he thought guns were like the movies where if you hit them, they're going to fall down and die with one shot. Right. And he had to go repetitively and he let the guy open the door and move towards the people. He didn't know what was going on in the building. Like all the things a good assassin would know. This novice did not have the information, but he also is now wrestling with the emotional backlash of all of this. And it really creates a human character from somebody who, is like an annoying millennial who doesn't want to look at the architecture.
I can relate to him because when I was younger, I couldn't care less. I could not care less with looking at architecture. Now I appreciate it more, but it's not like the number one thing on my list. If you tell me that like, hey, we're gonna go take a boat and look at buildings, like Are there any good restaurants on the way, or can we go to a good restaurant afterwards or something like that? I understand, Ray. I don't necessarily think that it's a shithole. I think any place with like a bell tower is pretty sweet. I think that's kind of cool. So I don't know. Do you want to go visit Bruges after seeing this movie?
I want to go visit like everywhere in Europe. Like I'm totally game.
Like talk me through your mindset as to how things are going through with the rest of this.
Well, I mean, I figured that he would make an effort to kill him, which he kind of did. The one thing in that entire area that you're talking about that threw me off was those people were not Canadian. Canadians are way nicer than that, and would never make those comments.
So at the dinner, like with the Canadians, which you
Mhm.
don't find out that they're Canadians until later on, but if a woman came at you with a bottle, so Colin Farrell had this whole thing where it's self-defense. If someone comes after me with a bottle, all bets are off. You can do whatever. So if a woman came out of you with a bottle, do you think it's warranted to punch her in the face?
I don't think he just karate chop her or did he punch her in the
He
face?
punched her right in the fucking face.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Nobody's ever tried to hit me with a bottle.
Oh man, I feel like it's such a lose-lose situation. Like you're gonna get cracked upside the head, or you're gonna get all these awful, awful looks, and people probably will jump you because you punched someone in the face that was just about to try and kill you. So I don't know. In the movie's
That
sake,
wasn't a little bottle though. That was a lights out bottle.
exactly, exactly. So that's why I'm saying I don't know. I think in the context of this movie, I think those actions were justified.
I mean, I didn't complain. I was just like, shit. But I thought he judo chopped her. So
No, straight up knuckle sandwich. He
Mhm.
sent Alice to the moon for sure. Then he goes off to like basically like a little after party with the midget, a
He goes to
prostitute.
the hotel bar.
Yeah. And he has an after party.
I mean, hotel bars are known for after parties. And then they
Oh
do
my God.
character development on the dwarf where they want you to not think that he's an innocent person. They show him womanizing and crushing drugs and being part of horse tranquilizers. I did just to shoot himself in the neck with a dart. Like, I don't even know what he does. I don't even know how.
He's a wild man.
He is
And
a wild little man.
he's an actor. Actors like to do drugs, have
Do they?
parties, have sex with prostitutes. That's what they do. But my one of my favorite scenes in the movie is just the nonsensical banter back and forth between everyone where the I can't remember what was they just referred to him as the midget. What is his actual name?
Um,
I feel
they
like
give
we
him a
should.
name?
I'm pretty sure he has a name.
Jimmy. They called
Jimmy.
him Jimmy,
Okay, so Jimmy,
who
the
was a
little
John.
person. Say it again.
Jimmy, who was a John.
Who ends up just going on this drug induced rant about whites versus blacks.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone starts chiming in and well what about the Pakistanis? He's like, they're with the blacks. And it's just like such an aggressive tone. And it's just such a nonsensical debate and argument, but yet they just keep on fueling the fire and just saying stuff. And so I don't know. I'm having a good time at this point. What are your thoughts at the little banter back and forth?
This would be more of a reason that this movie doesn't get made now than than the other parts you were talking about as well. I feel like this is a drunk uncle at a party kind of situation, and again, it's more of a character assassination, so you don't feel bad later in the movie.
Sure, I guess so. I guess you could say so. But do you think they really needed to do that?
I mean, nobody likes to kill innocent people.
Yeah, I guess. But at this point, I think even the corrupt are likable. Brendan Gleeson's character and Colin Farrell's character, they're likable. They're a good time. They're not, even though they're hitmen, they're really, they have ethics, right? There's like a little moral code that they have that will, they don't cross. And same thing with Ray Fiennes' character. He has a little
Harry
code
had a
that he
code.
follows. Yeah,
Harry had a code.
exactly. Harry did have a code. Yeah, for any Dexter fans out there. And I just feel like at this point throughout the movie, they could do whatever they want, in my opinion, and I would still have a good time. They could just joke or just be as vulgar about whatever topic, and I'm in. It's just the dynamic between everyone and their either the reaction or lack of reaction is what makes it even better. Like it's a normal conversation that they have day after day, and it's just something that they do. They don't think too much about it. They talk their shit. They talk some more shit, and then they go on their way. They have their peace.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything to add to that. I think it was I liked it as a character development, and I like the platform it gave you the next day, right? When all the drugs and the drink and all the effort that Colin Farrell made to numb all of his emotions left, and he wasn't there, I'm like, he's totally going to kill himself right now. And turns out that he decided to go to a park with a loaded gun and literally end his own life or attempt to.
Are you surprised before that Ken doesn't tell him about Harry calling?
No, because
it doesn't seem like they're pals. I think they'll probably figure something out.
I don't think they've known each other for that long. How long can you how long do they know each other, and how much can you trust somebody whose job it is to kill people? Who signed up for that?
You don't feel like their rapport was there?
A rapport is one thing. A trust is completely different. They're not partners, they're associates, and they haven't known each other for that long. They're stuck in Bruges together.
Okay. I feel like they know each other, and even if they haven't known each other for a long time, there is that level of trust. And I felt like that it would have came out sooner. Like during a bump of coke, they would have just been like, "Hey, here's the deal. Harry called. He wants me to kill you, but we're gonna have some fun, do a few lines. You're gonna leave on a train tomorrow, and you're a good kid. Try and live another life."
I don't think he made the decision that he was going to leave on a train. I think that he was geeking himself up to do it, saying, give the kid a last good night, let him get laid and just have some stress relief. We'll deal with this in the morning. We'll go find an alcove and we'll handle this.
Alcoves. Did he talk to you about the fucking alcoves?
Nooks and crannies.
Oh man, such a funny line in there. Like there's so many little drops of dialogue that make it so much fun, and it's like one of those movies that you can quote, but you have to be around someone that's seen the movie because no one else will appreciate it at all whatsoever.
I agree.
All right, good stuff, man.
I mean, you're saying stuff that I'm not out. I feel like this is a movie that, like, every time you watch it, you're gonna pick up on more and more, right? Yeah. And if this was mainstream, it'd be quotable. Like I'm surprised there's not more pop culture references to this. The alcoves piece, the Vietnamese. How did that not become a thing?
What do you mean about the Vietnamese?
Exactly. Like all of this. I'm surprised this isn't like a cult classic in some way.
I mean, it is. I would say that it's not even, I don't know if you can call it a cult classic. It's just I
don't think you can. That's the problem. Like, this movie is so well built and quotable
Yeah.
that I don't know how it hasn't gotten that level of attention.
I think because of the inappropriateness is probably another reason why. And because it's not someone attached to it like Tarantino, where it's just known for that, borderline, I mean, not even borderline, just flat out inappropriate type of dialogue. I think that's part of the reasoning as to why. And plus, it's European. So
So is
American
Lock,
audience.
Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, but I would say that Snatch is a bigger movie than that.
I don't know.
Because they have an American attached to it. So that's one of the things is they Snatch has an American attached to it, so it has that more of a worldwide or at least a
Are you talking
United
about
States
Brad
type of
Pitt?
appeal. Yeah,
Brad Pitt is not enough to carry that. Lock, Stock is much more widely regarded of a movie.
I disagree.
Well,
I
that's something
disagree.
that's something for listeners to comment on or send us a message or hit us on Instagram and tell Dan that he's wrong.
I don't. All right, you know what? Yeah, you want to? Let's do it right now. Throwing down the gauntlet. Snatch versus Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrel. What is a bigger movie according to American audience? So
We don't have an American audience, we have a global audience.
we do have a global audience, but the question still is American audience. So, all right. But as we go through, so he's at the park, he's going to off himself. And what does he do? He saves him. He stops him from killing himself with gun in hand. And once again, just that playful banter back and forth, like, what the hell are you doing? The hell were you going to do? It's like people are just caught with guns in their hands and they're just criminals, fun loving criminals. That's
well,
what
I think
are.
that he in his head, he was building up all the reasons that he had to die, and he was not expecting him to I mean, he had pity. The only way that a hitman can feel pity. It was very for someone that I would guess as a hitman who has ended enough people to feel guilt and have to drink it away with his quote unquote gay beer. I think that
and I'm sorry, I love that they just kept on going with that.
It was is continual.
Every scene.
It's the chalice, but I think that there's a certain level of empathy that's done there in a character building perspective, and you'd like hitmen with a heart.
Do you think he deserved to have another chance?
Without malice and intent, yeah, but it's I think that any rule that's directed in singular is too you got to have flexibility, and again, the guy wasn't purposefully doing anything. He fucked up. Everybody was allowed to make mistakes.
So for the record, you're saying that he deserves a second chance after killing a boy.
I think it was the priest that killed the boy because he decided to run away.
The priest,
knowing that there was imminent danger, he took the danger to where the child was in an act of self-preservation. And he wasn't goodly enough to have the bullet stick in him. He let it go through. And I don't think that Colin Farrell was using fancy blow your head off bullets.
Maybe he should have. Could have stopped him right there in the confessional.
I don't think shooting you in the abdomen with one of those bullets stops you, apparently.
Do you want him to have another chance, though?
I think that people in general gain a certain level of perspective on life and on themselves when they have to deal with failure and shortcoming. And that's what he's dealing with. He's dealing with failure, shortcoming, and an opportunity that he shouldn't have been in, right? He made a mistake. I don't think that he felt remorse. And I think that that's what you look for when you decide if somebody's, worthy of a second chance or not, is remorse. That's why they have a parole board. That's why they let people out of prison early, because they feel remorse and they're rehabilitated. I think that he had an opportunity for rehabilitation.
Okay. So I'm always curious about people's opinions on, characters that we like. And I'm assuming that you like him as a character because he seems like a funny, rando type of person that just says funny shit and it's like he's not bad. He's not that bad of a guy.
I think
At
he's
least that's
a
how I
fucking
view
idiot.
him as.
I think he's a fucking idiot. And I think he's an idiot who keeps putting himself in situations where he almost gets fucking shot. Like, that's asking for it at that point, right?
So, do you like him or not like him?
I would say that I'm in a neutral position, that if he lives or dies, I'm not losing any sleep. I'm not disappointed.
Okay. Let me rephrase. Do you like his character?
That's my opinion. Like, I'm
That's
just
it.
like, eh.
Do you like Brendan Gleeson's character, Ken?
I think Brendan Gleeson's character is a better human because of reflection and empathy and understanding. Like, there's more there. There's more depth. I think that Colin in this movie is just a little kind of a bitch, right? He
Okay.
doesn't understand there's no context around a context.
So, are they like, is the duo, are they noble thieves or are they just flat out pieces of shit?
It's the old man and the young man. They're both they're both, I don't know if they're noble thieves. I just think they're thieves. I don't think they're pieces of shit, right? They show a lot of redeeming qualities and, ensuring that the pregnant lady doesn't die, and, respecting the business owner and apologizing for the message that she had to take down, and, being overall respectful to people. I mean, I think that Colin Farrell's young and stupid, right? He's got a flex on the stupid Canadian, who I don't think was Canadian, and he's got to be all extra ass whoopy to the boyfriend, right? Going a little overboard and shooting him in the face, or hitting him with the side of the blank or whatever. And that's like where karma decided that it was time to intervene, right? Karma gave him the out, but then his actions came back to haunt him a little bit.
Yep. He runs into the Canadians on the train. He gets arrested, goes back to Bruges, and that's where Harry is. So Harry decides to make the trip to Bruges, upsets his wife and his kids, but he goes off to handle his business. So Ken accepts his fate. He lets him go, lets Ray go, and I don't know. I feel like, does he honestly think that he's going to get killed, or is he thinking like, I've got seniority, he knows I'm a good guy, he knows this was a first time flub by a loser that we'll probably never ever see again, or will just get himself killed later on down the road, so let's just chalk it up as a loss and I'll take my verbal lashes and let's go.
Well, what do you think about that? Because I have a direct opinion. So what do you think?
I feel like at that point, I don't think he wants to die. I don't think he's going to have any repercussions, honestly. I feel like he's been in the game so long and he knows that Harry counts on him to do things. But I think he also knows that Harry had a first time idiot that fucked up a hit and ended up killing a boy. So I honestly think that he thinks he's in the clear. He has his drink at the bar, but at the same time, I don't know if he truly believes that he's going to get shot.
He writes a last will and testament.
Yeah,
That's to me is he's accepting the fact that he's made a life decision and he's willing to accept that. And that's that. He even tells him where he could take him to kill him.
I guess I just feel like even though he did that, it's kind of going through the motions, thinking like, I don't think I'm going to die. I honestly didn't think that it was over for him until he, did his tie and then did a foot first dive out the window.
I think that he accepted his fate well before, or he would not have been as easy to make those decisions.
He makes his peace and he jumps out the window, which is a ballsy fucking move. I remember that, but at the same time, you know what I don't remember is the sickening thud
The
of
splash.
the splash on the fucking cobblestone, and even just the visual of like the just blood splatter spray. I can't even say it was splatter. It was just a spray on the fucking sidewalk. It looked gross. I don't remember that. I thought, and I was thinking this, that it was foreshadowing earlier, that when he was up in the bell tower before, and he was pointing down to Colin Farrell and, doing pistol gun fingers, I thought he was going to shoot Harry from the window.
Same.
I don't remember it all. Wow. So crazy.
No,
but
same.
what were your thoughts?
I thought he was going to shoot him. My wife was like, oh, he's going to go pick him off from the bell tower. And in my head, I'm like, he doesn't have the gun for that. When it was foggy, I'm just like, oh, well, is he going to yell? Nope, he's going to drop. And I'm like, is this going to be some kind of weird, I'm falling and shooting? Did we just drop into a Jet Li movie? Is he a real assassin? Like, what's going on here? Or, it's like he's just going to create a diversion and splat. I thought that the next shot on him he should not have been able to walk up the steps. If they hit him in that artery and it made that big of a splash of blood, dude should have bled out way faster.
Sure.
So that was like, I was like, I did like the fact that his fall broke his gun. But either way, I thought it was poetic. All this sacrifice for barely anything, right?
Yeah.
Barely
maybe a
anything.
chance. Maybe a chance to get away.
Yeah. I mean, if Colin Farrell couldn't run that fast, it's like he spent those first weeks like marathon training. And if Harry wasn't such an out of shape fucker, like who knows?
This is the shootout, right? So, and he even calls it to the inn owner, which is hilarious to me. Like, no, can't leave now. This is the shootout. And so, what are your thoughts on like their little polite rules about, letting the woman go or jumping out into the canal, and then you have a fair shot at being able to shoot at me?
Well, I think it just shows the gentleman's code there, right? They didn't want to kill the woman. Enough kids had died already. I mean, it's okay. And how are they going to get to the midget? Like that the whole time I'm like, how are they getting to the midget? He's dressed up in schoolboy's clothes. How are they getting there?
Really? So you thought that it would tie back to
100%. I'm like, they're going to kill this guy. He's got the blow your head off bullet. Oh, I shouldn't, but I will. Which is the only way that he hit Colin Farrell, that he had like a magnum bullet in there, right? So I was like, okay, well, they can't just have a shootout here. They've got to get to the midget or the dwarf or whatever. I'm going to get so canceled for this episode for repeating the lines in the movie. But I think that you're just like, how are they getting there? That's cool. And is he going to swim? Nope. He finds a boat. And then the thing that got me about that, and I don't know how you feel about this, and we'll circle back to how you feel about the gentlemanly terms of the shootout, but I gotta say this: when he jumps on the boat and gets shot through the chest, the bullet, like as far as I could tell to positioning, should have gone through him and into the boat driver.
Yeah, the boat
Like
driver is
the
just
boat
treating this
driver
as
should
like a
be dead.
taxi. It's like, okay, well, here's your stop.
Yeah.
And
Sorry you got
Colin Farrell
shot.
gets out.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like that made no sense. But how did you feel about the gentlemanly agreements? Let's start there.
Oh, I love it. The fact that we're at the third act, some bad shit should be going down and will be going down, but yet they keep the humor in it, which I'm a big fan of.
Mhm.
And the writing in this is just so damn good, but it's also expertly executed by Ray Fiennes and Colin Farrell, and even the inn owner. She's just sitting there and she's like, "You guys are fucking crazy," and so I like that there's a strength in the woman, and she's like, "This is my place. No, you're not going to go up there, and I'm not going to allow you to kill this guy." And putting yourself in risk, and then both of them have that code to where it's like, well, we're not going to shoot a woman with a baby, that's for sure. And there was the line earlier that Ray Fiennes said, if I shot a boy, I would put a gun to my head and shoot myself on principle alone. And so he has that little foreshadowing moment right there. So yeah, I mean, I'm down with it. The writing's great. Um, I thought it was hilarious, the sharpshooter from a bridge moment where he shoots him through the chest and he's like in disbelief. And then Ray Fiennes is just sitting there like, yep, nodding his head, like, yep, I shot you. I just thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's part of the unrealistic part of the film, but that's okay.
But it's cool though, because he nods, almost acknowledging the fact that I'm a bad motherfucker. That's right, I shot you. I can shoot and kill people too. And this time it's not going to be a boy, or is it?
No, it's not.
So he staggers to the movie set where no one is giving a shit. Everyone's just completely fine with him bleeding out on the street. No issues, no questions. No one's running up to him. No one's screaming. And Ray Fiennes catch up to him, shoots him like another 4 times, and blows the midget's head off. Just clean off right
Yeah,
there. Well, not even clean off, just messy on the street.
dude. I Whoever they had for ballistics for this movie was talented.
It was like a very good special effects type of movie, or practical effects type of
Yeah,
movie, I should say.
which I didn't expect.
He thinks that he shoots a boy, and Colin Farrell is just about to mutter, like, "Oh, he's not a boy," but he shoots himself anyway on principle alone, which he said earlier in the movie. What are your thoughts? Talk me through.
I think that if he would have shot him in the lungs, he would have been able to tell him it wasn't a boy. But again, like he broke his own code in a way using the more powerful bullets, right?
Did he
He's like,
say
oh,
something
I
about?
know I shouldn't, but why not?
Oh,
And there was foreshadowing to it coming back to bite him. And I think that it also normalizes the fact that, yeah, no, you should feel bad for killing a kid. And Colin Farrell's been dealing with that for a long time, and he's strong for being able to even process it. Unlike, you know, Ray Fine, just done.
were
But
you the
I,
realist in you? Were you like, eh?
as soon as they hit the movie set, I told my wife, he's going to shoot him. It's going to go through his chest. It's going to kill the dwarf, and then he's going to kill himself. It was very like the twists were good, but they were tropish. They were not like shocking. I wasn't shocked. I was like,
Mhm.
no, this is going to happen.
They're all dead. Um, but do you think Ray
They're not all
dies?
dead. Colin Farrell wasn't dead.
So you think he lived?
I think that they leave it up to the viewer to decide if he's worthy of living or dying.
All right, let me ask you the question. Do you think Ray dies at the end?
Um, if he lived that long, like, yeah, sure. Like, you get shot that many times uh in the chest and it misses your heart and you don't just bleed out like that. I mean, if 50 Cent can survive it, Colin Farrell can.
I guess. How many times he get shot? Like 7 times? Eight
Something like
times?
that.
Nine? Okay.
Something like that.
All right. So in my head, I'd like to think that he lives. I think it's pretty obvious that he dies. Just the amount of bullet holes and just the him talking, almost tricking himself that, like, oh, am I in hell? Am I just gonna have to stay here forever? Like, nah, you're dead. You're
Yeah,
dead.
you know what I think
That's
saved
my
him?
thoughts are.
You know what I think saved him? Socialized medicine.
Final thoughts on the movie. Something I didn't bring up before, but the music. What were your thoughts on the music?
It didn't stand out to me as, wow, I'm impressed, but I thought it fit. Like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it was appropriate, and it fit the movie well. Was there something I missed about a famous artist or a famous composer?
Not
Should
so
I
much
know this
that I
person?
was looking for. I just thought the music was very interesting because it's very sad music right from the jump, and you don't really think of the movie as being sad. You think it as being funny because it's just like nonstop, dark, dry, sarcastic, witty humor throughout. And yeah, it's pretty fucking sad because a little boy dies and a few other people die too. But I like the contrast of sad music, just ridiculous humor and conversation back and forth, but also that Irish song when Brendan Gleeson is, tidying up his tie and jumping out the window. You think it's like a noble death, and it's just horrific. It is just flat out horrific, blood splash. And that's another thing too. Like I want to talk is, and I mentioned it earlier, is just the overall practical effects, the sounds of the guns. They make a lot of that violence just horrifying. Like that those gunshots, I don't know if they're very accurate gunshots, but it sounded like, oh shit, like, yep, don't own a gun because bad shit happens when you fire these guns. It's loud, it causes death. Look at all the blood that's just splattering out. So I think it was just kind of an interesting take on the violence of the movie too, is that even though there's jokes that are being said, the sounds and the reality of what are actually happening, yeah, it's pretty evil and pretty fucking awful of what's going on and with these bad men that are in, control of these weapons.
I don't disagree. I think that it was like I mentioned, they pulled in a great studio for practical. I think that they had a good squib guy and just there's certain things that are an art, right? The art of showing the fact that you could see through his chest, right? That's not like magical. That's just a good practical effect. The splash, the splatter, the vein exploding in his neck, so much so that it pissed me off that he was still standing. He should have died on the fucking stairs and not been able to get. He should have just died, like bled out on the stairs.
There have been other people that have been shot in the neck in the movie, and not this movie, but other movies that, but you're right. I don't disagree. I mean, I would
Yeah,
think that he would have bled out, but yeah, I think it's the way that the movie was done and the polarizing effects of the violence, the humor, the human interaction between the people, and just the bad stuff that happens because of the way that they act and the words that they say. It's that's what I really liked about the movie. is because I can go from laughing my ass off 1 second to be like, ugh, oh, this is pretty rough. Like that was cringy to me, like to watch some of those blood scenes and gunshots and everything. What about the characters as a whole? Any other characters that you thought were, uh, useless, a good addition? Anything?
I think the eye patch guy was a good representation of karma. Like, you never want to shit on the little people because it'll come back to haunt you.
Yeah, and you know who I also liked was, gosh, what was is it Yuri, the guy that gave him the gun?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I really liked
Nooks and
him as a
crannies guy.
character. Say it again.
Nooks and alcoves,
No,
man.
yeah, yeah. He actually reminded me of another actor, and I actually thought who it was. He reminded me of the guy from the first John Wick, Michael Engvist. That
Okay.
that actor who R.I.P. He looks just like him, but apparently that's not him. So I thought that was. But um, yeah, I thought he was kind of a nice addition too, because even though it's just a small little bit character, it's like it's like that part in Wayne's World where Wayne stops at the gas station. Wayne's World 2, I should say, stops at the gas station and it's like talking to the attendant. It's like, I know this is a small part, but can we get a better actor? They bring in
They get
Charlton
Charlton
Heston.
Heston. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought that he was a perfect person for that little bit part. But yeah, man. Overall, I think we talked about the cast, talked about the effects and everything, which brings me to my last question for you. Mark, can you do In Bruges all day?
Though it was a good movie, I'm gonna say no. And I'm
Is it
gonna
because
say
it
no
doesn't
because
make you feel good?
it's just a sad movie. I mean, it's also formulaic. Like, there's nothing in it that brought me a ton of joy, right? There's not like positive characters. It does make me want to continue on the journey with the director who did Three Billboards, which was an awesome movie, and now has done this other Oscar nominated film that I'm probably going to watch. Um, but this movie, it's not an all day for me, but it is a good conversation piece and not, I don't want my $8 back. Like, I feel okay about watching this movie. But do you agree? Do you disagree? Where are you at? Can you do this movie all day?
So I did not think, or apparently I didn't remember a whole lot of this movie, which normally is like a red flag, right? Like if you don't remember a movie, probably wasn't a good movie. But I remember it being a very good movie. So with it being, and I'm guesstimating about 8 years since I've seen it, watching it again and just being in kind of shock and awe and still laughing at some things, I kind of had a hard time because then it made me question my thought process of, well, if this is a good movie and it's been 8 years, why didn't I watch it again? So I'm kind of going back and forth on, like what constitutes a good movie. And I really, really enjoyed the movie and watching it again this time around. And I actually watched it another time. So I watched it for this review, and then I watched it again this morning just to kind of get like another few things here, making sure that, did I really understand this part, and uh, did I have that same feeling with the violence, with the humor and everything? And I did. So after a lot of thought about it, yeah, I can do this all day. It's still a good movie. It still holds up. That type of edgy humor is my type of humor. I like it. I'm still super impressed with the way that the director did his application of, or blended his humor and action and flat out horror of that action with the gunshots, the squibs, and practical effects and everything. So, yeah, man, this is a pretty damn solid movie. And yeah, I can do this all day.
I hope you purchase yourself a copy of this so you can watch it repeatedly.
You know what? I did do a Stars free trial, but I would have bought the movie. I would have bought it.
I rented, and I'm not disappointed in the renting. Glad I've seen it. Not going to repeat it regularly.
Well, on that note, it is St. Patrick's Day week that we're celebrating right here. We've got our green on. We watched a movie with some men of Ireland, and we are really grateful for you taking that journey with us. We hope that you have some corned beef and cabbage and a little bit of Guinness. But until next time, this is Dan the Part-Time Avenger. That's Mark the Resident Jedi.
Watch, like, subscribe, recommend your favorite St. Patrick's Day movie. I feel like there's more, and we want to hear about it. Until next time.
Have a good one, everyone.